Kamil Sattar is one of the best-known YouTubers in the e-commerce community. He has created multiple businesses, from regular dropshipping stores to high-end streetwear.
So this is how we were able to do over $300,000 in revenue in just 14 days using no paid ads, using organic TikTok traffic.
The products he's created has gone far beyond the scope of YouTube and is the reason he's reached where he is today. So, how exactly did Kamil make his first few millions? Is he as successful as he claims to be on social media? In this video, we'll see how Kamil Sattar was able to build his fortune and the business models that he used to find success. As with many finance YouTubers, Kamil Sattar did not come from a wealthy family. His family was originally from Pakistan, but moved to the UK in search of new opportunities. The transition was not easy for Kamil either, as he found it difficult to settle into a new country, especially one with a high cost of living. Kamil grew up watching his parents struggle to make ends meet. His mother and father had to work multiple jobs just to keep up with their expenses. One of the things that sparked Kamil's hunger for success was the environment in which he grew up in. Kamil grew up watching his friends and classmates use iPhones, and some even drove their own cars. Kamil wasn't able to afford those luxuries himself, and would make it his goal to change that. Kamil understood the importance money had, and understand that his lack of it was the reason he lived in poor conditions. One of the most impactful moments in Kamil's life was the time his furnace broke down at home. His family was left without proper heating and couldn't afford to pay for the repair. They unfortunately had to resort to bathing with buckets for a long time. Kamil didn't know what he was going to do for work, but he knew he had to take action. At the age of 16, Kamil started working as a cashier for a clothing store called Primark. He earned around £3 an hour, with a 40-hour work week. It wasn't long before he realized that he didn't enjoy the work, but he was still going to do it anyway. After saving as much as he could, he left Primark to find a higher paying job. This led him to work for another store called JD. He was hired for the Christmas holidays as part-time, and 10 lucky people would be brought on full-time once it was over. Despite the low odds, Kamil was hopeful that he would be one of those people. He had done an excellent job during his time there, and thought that his manager would acknowledge his hard work. The relationship Kamil had with his manager was not the best, and probably contributed to him not landing the position. After losing his job at JD, Kamil was devastated. He was 16 years old, unemployed, and had just dropped out of school because of his poor grades. He didn't know how he was going to come out of this, but he hadn't lost hope yet. He went over everything he learned at his jobs, and he felt like he was close to an idea. There was still a way for Kamil to make money. He just had to use his head. Thanks to his experience at Primark and JD, Kamil realized two important things. First, he had gained a better understanding of how the fashion industry worked. This made him confident that he could replicate a similar business by himself. Two, he realized that the money he had saved up could be used toward funding this kind of business. Now, although his money may have been limited, the time he had available wasn't. Kamil spent many sleepless nights researching on YouTube, looking for information on how he could start his own business. After sinking thousands of hours into his research, Kamil finally came across what would lead him to his finance journey: dropshipping. The best thing about dropshipping for Kamil was that the barrier to entry was low. This was perfect for him since he wasn't sure how far his money would last him. In mid-2017, the Ecom king would start his first dropshipping store. Since this was his first time dropshipping, he ran into the same hiccups that anyone else would run into, the main one being losing money from unsuccessful Instagram shoutouts. He also wasn't sure how to determine which product he would be promoting, and he didn't understand why his store wasn't seeing any buyer interactions. No matter how much money he had invested, Kamil could not attract any customers. He decided that if he was going to be spending any more money, it would be to gain knowledge. He went to YouTube and started purchasing courses on dropshipping. He went through every lesson several times until his understanding of what worked was second nature. With this newfound knowledge, Kamil opened up another Shopify store. He needed money to fund the advertising for it, so he decided to do several side hustles. One of the ideas he had was to buy and resell luxury clothing. This became one of his most profitable side hustles and earned him a few $1,000s. His new dropshipping store focused on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and Christmas gifts. He was familiar with those kind of products and knew that they would be heavily sought after. Unlike his previous stores, this one quickly became profitable. Kamil was seeing high store interaction, and before he knew it, he made $180,000 in profit. This had been the moment Kamil had been waiting for. All the money and time he spent on courses had finally begun to pay off. But not everything was going the way Kamil had wanted. He still lived at home with his family and wasn't as efficient as he could be. The noisy environment around him really cut into his store's productivity. When he addressed the issue to his family, none of them seemed to understand. Kamil was also worried that his store's success may have been a one-time deal. He wasn't sure if he could repeat the same achievements, so moving out wasn't really an option. Kamil decided that if he could prove it wasn't a fluke, he'd move out from his family home. He doubled down on his e-commerce business and quit his reselling side hustle. This proved to be a mistake on Kamil's part, since his store dropped from $35,000 profit to only $3,000. Kamil would spend the next few months using his profits to advertise new products. He spent a total of $50,000 on a single product, which did not perform as he had hoped. He saw very few sales and basically sent that $50,000 down the drain. To say he was disappointed was an understatement, as this loss resulted in him taking a 2-month break. Kamil needed time to sort out both his store and himself. The emotional stress that he had been feeling the past few months had finally taken its toll. He didn't touch anything e-commerce related and took time to relax so he could come back fresh. He spent his time focusing on his mindset and doing activities that he enjoyed. This would prove to have been a smart decision by Kamil, as his next project when he come back would be the one. No longer feeling the stress he once did, Kamil started a new Shopify store. He focused on baby clothing and toys, which was something recommended to him in a course he purchased. By the end of the month, Kamil had amassed over $800,000 in profit. His success didn't stop there though, as 2020 had also brought Kamil a unique opportunity. Kamil spent time studying the effects the recession had on people and focused his products on particular niches. He also decided to use some of his profits to create his own clothing brand, So Little. It was a huge hit and had been popularized by many news websites and celebrities. Kamil has now committed his time to teaching other entrepreneurs how to follow in his footsteps. He still creates his own dropshipping stores and invests his money into cryptocurrency. If there is one thing that we can learn from Kamil, is that education does not stop at school. It was not luck that allowed Kamil to succeed in the world of e-commerce, but his hunger and willingness to learn. So that's the end of today's video. If you want to see how other people earn their first few millions online, check out the description. Also, subscribe and comment below what YouTuber you want to see covered next on the channel.